Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for joining me on this morning talk. So, this will be part 2 of the Soul Trap videos that I've been working on here. And this all came from a few days ago. Somebody that's been following Exit the Matrix on Facebook for a while, he said that I never talk about, reincarnation traps, soul traps. Is that possibly what Earth is? And I actually have done videos on that in the past. So, of course, I sent him some links. And then, of course, he came back like, oh, well, you don't really make it a main issue you talk about. It's like, well, I don't, folks, because, look, so yesterday was Halloween, and I didn't get that video uploaded, so I'll probably have today's Saturday. I'm going to try to get both yesterday's video and this video uploaded today. It'll be part 1 and 2 of the Soul Trap, or maybe Is Earth the Soul Trap? And it'll have some title like that. So if you didn't listen to the other one, you're going to need to listen to it, because I'm starting to set the background, the framework, the groundwork for this talk, because it's not an easy subject, folks, that you can just jump in and explain in 20-30 minutes. Okay, there's a lot to it and a lot to break down, and like I explained in the video yesterday, the reason why I don't talk a lot about this is because I gotta admit, it's scary to think about. I don't want to think about that. I want to believe that the NDE accounts of, going to the light, going to source, meeting up with the family members, and going on into the higher dimension where they say that that's our real home, and that we choose to come to Earth, that we that this is a type of sandbox, for spirits to come experience third dimension. It's a type of classroom where we come to learn, experience things we can't experience in the higher dimensions. And so I would rather, put my belief in that system, right? That reality. However, there is the underpinning theory that is all a trap to keep recycling spirits, source energy, consciousness back into this realm, so that entities that left the light and don't want to go back to the light, to God, that stay in this lower dimension, that they use our energy, they use us like cattle to feed off of. And that's essentially what the reincarnation soul trap theory is. But we're going to go into into deeper, we're going to dive deeper into all that, right? And so sorry guys, what a lot of people mistake as a cold or flu this time of year, it's actually your body goes through seasons just like the earth does. And during the fall, your body is cleansing, it's getting out all this crap out of your lungs, out of your body, out of your system. And so a lot of it manifests in like mucus and all this other stuff. And so everybody thinks it's like this type of flu, or this cold, or it's just a name we give the symptoms, but it's the body going through a cycle. So I don't know, that's just my thoughts on that. I'm not a doctor, okay? Hold your judgment, please. Believe what you will. Go take your jabberoos if that's what you want to do. But I think it's just the body cleansing. But anyways, a quick recap. So the video yesterday, I was explaining the beginning of everything, how the Anunnaki, the Elohim, yes, the gods, not God, the God, the big G, right? The gods, the small G's. How in the ancient cuneiform tablets, it explains how they created mankind, hybridized mankind from a wild man that was already walking the earth, that was living amongst the animals, living in the caves, how they took that wild species of man and they hybridized it with their DNA to upgrade it. And they did this because they were building a slave worker race to alleviate the work of their working class Anunnaki people who were rebelling against the labors that were being forced upon them. Kind of like today, right? With the elite, right? They all live off our labor, right? And they pay you less and less. Inflation eats up whatever you make. And you got to take out loans bigger and bigger and bigger, right? To try to like buy things you need to survive, like a house, car, food, all those things, right? And then they force you to have it. Sorry, folks. Oh, there we go. The phlegm, right? They force you to have insurance for everything too, on top of that, which keeps doubling and tripling every year. So it's all scam. It's the same idea, right? But now we're calling for our alleviation of our labor, and they're going to do it with robots and AI. It's the same story playing over and over again. But a key thing in that Atrahasis cuneiform tablet that I'm referring to is that they explained how, yes, they created this avatar, this human prototype from a hominid that walked the earth and with their DNA upgraded. However, they can't create souls. The Anunnaki, the Elohim cannot create souls. So they had to slay one of their own people, another Anunnaki, to experiment, and because they understood the transfer of spirits, okay, folks, from one avatar to another. They understood this technology. And so that's what they did. They slayed this Anunnaki. Look, folks, the Anunnaki, the Elohim, are avatars of type 2, okay? They're physical beings, folks, not spirits. Now, they have the ability, apparently, to jump dimensions. However, they are physical beings, at least in their Anunnaki form. But they slayed one of their own. They transferred his spirit into one of these prototype avatars, and that was the Adapa. You can find cuneiform stories about Adapa. He was the first Adam, okay? And so that's a key to understand in this whole question about soul reincarnation and all that, soul trap stuff. So they understood. It's in the ancient tablets, folks. It tells you. They had to move consciousness from one avatar body into this new human constructed avatar body. Okay? So understand that. And then also we talked about, I told people you need to do some research into NDEs because we're going to go heavy into that too. And so now that's what we're going to talk about. Now the NDEs, the OBEs, near-death experiencers, the out-of-body experiencers, they talk about when they leave the body, and we talked about this yesterday, folks, how they say it's like your superhuman abilities and senses, right? It's like you have a 360-degree view. You can make your vision go in like a microscope or zoom out like a telescope. All these abilities. You can feel other people's feelings. You can hear their thoughts. You can speak telepathically. You can move instantaneously with just your thoughts. You don't have to walk. However, you can still walk. And they even say that it's like you still have a physical body, but it's like a super advanced physical body. But then there's other times where they say you don't have a body. So it just depends, folks. It's because you can manifest in that realm whatever you want. Because, folks, we are creator gods. You are an immortal God, okay? I didn't say this. Yeshua told you this. Okay? Don't you know ye are gods? You could do as I could do. He was talking about healing and casting out demons and perhaps even moving mountains with the faith, right? With the strong enough faith. Which faith, what he was speaking about, is the understanding of your manifesting abilities. So just understand this, folks. Look, this was all been taught before, okay? The ancients knew this knowledge. It's been lost. We've been modernized by materialist people and by religious structures that were designed to move us off the truth. See, Yeshua was teaching that we are all God. We're all one with God, the children of God, and that we're immortal, and that we resurrect into the higher form when we pass. It's simple, folks. It really is. And we're all one with the Father, with the light. With that grand consciousness, that grand energy, that source energy, okay? It's all understood. And he understood that the Old Testament God, Yahweh, was the devil, the demiurge of this realm. Now, that's going to be another key in these talks, okay? Another key in this of understanding. But see, the problem with religion is they've tried to separate God from you. They've tried to make you worship the body. Right? I mean, every single Christian I try to teach this simple truth to, they say, no, we're made in God's image. And I'm like, simple, folks. Okay, go read your Bible. Go read Genesis. What does it say? Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Man has become as one of us. Yeah, folks, that's exactly what the Anunnaki were talking about in the cuneiform tablets. The Council of the Anunnaki, the Royal Anunnaki, okay? That's exactly what they were talking about. Same story, folks. See, the human body was made in their image. That's why we look like them. That's why their children can rule this world, and we don't know that they're not human. Okay? They're not human. Now, we contain Anunnaki DNA because we are not fully Earth hominids. We are partial Earth hominids, and we are partial Anunnaki, more intelligent, advanced avatar. Their DNA. Okay? That's why you have all of these ancient, other types of humanoids that they've dug up. Cro-Magnon, right? All these different hominids. Neanderthal. Because those were us. Those were our ancestors before they got upgraded by this Anunnaki Elohim race. Okay, folks? The shining ones. If you really want to know what the word means, it means shining ones, okay? Yeah. Like, remember, like, the Nakash, the serpent in the Hebrew name for the serpent in the garden? The shining one? Come on, folks. Wake up, man. Wake up. It's time to put aside the BS. See, religion's got you guys worshiping the body. Oh, the body's made in God's image. No, it's not. The body's made in the image of the Elohim. It tells you in your Bible of the gods. I'm telling you guys, it's so simple, but yet people complicate everything. And of course, Christians, Jews, Muslims, Zoroastrians, they all believe that their version, their concept of God is the only God, and that their book is the only truth. Like, a Christian doesn't, like, if you don't believe in the Judeo-Christian God, then they'll say, oh, well, you don't believe in God. Well, yeah, I do believe in God. I actually have a better idea of what God is because I don't just stick my face in a Bible. I actually study other ancient texts. And I listen to hundreds of near-death experiences, folks, and read about them. And I draw a bigger picture than you do. See, your leftist atheists or materialists, they believe that everything's physical, even though we know that's false too, because of quantum physics. And DNA is a type of coding, computer coding, folks. And the brain is not consciousness. The brain is a operating system. Okay? Like, as if you sit in your car, your steering wheel, your dials, your gas pedals, it's an operating system. It's the computer system you're operating your vehicle with. That's the same when the spirit immerses itself through the pineal gland, the seat of the soul. It connects in with the human avatar. It takes the controls over of the brain. The brain is the operating system for the vessel, the human body. Folks, look, I know I'm sounding like really irritated, and it's because I do get irritated. Because I get bombarded every day with hundreds of Christians attacking me with the same ad nauseum, ridiculous comments. Oh no, we're made in God's image. Yeah, okay, here's the easy breakdown, folks. The body is made in the image of the Elohim, the gods, the Anunnaki, the Anunnaki. Okay? And it's a partial construct of the earthly hominid. That's why we're tied with the earth, our body. It's one with the earth and with the higher dimensional beings that came down and manipulated the hominids and upgraded them with their DNA and with their teachings, right? That's how they upgraded the bipedal species on Earth. But the spirit, the consciousness that that's our true self. We are truly just conscious energy, folks, experiencing this dimension through the body, the vessel. Outside of the body, we're pure consciousness, one with God. Okay? So our spirit is one with God. It's in the image of God, you could say, per se. The body is not. Now, technically, everything is God. So yes, technically, you could say, okay, the body is in the image of God, but that's because everything is, folks. Everything you look at on a day-to-day basis is the grand consciousness, the Godhead, okay? The grand mind. And we are all fractals of that mind, which makes us gods, little g gods, okay? Immortal spirits. Because God does not destroy energy. God creates energy. And energy expands. Come on, folks, that's even science. I mean, come on, man. The left and the right are ridiculous idiots. I really get tired of the far left and the far right. You got two groups of morons that have completely divided humanity over religion and atheism, Marxism, which is basically the far left. It's a religion of its own. And us in the middle that can actually think and that can tap into spirit and can think logically, guess what, folks? We get stuck between these two damn idiots. We're stuck in the middle between rocks, right? These rock heads. I mean, these people don't even know how to read their own book. It's funny because all they do is throw scripture at me, right and left, right and left, right and left. It's like, you do know, right? Man wrote the Bible, right? No, it was inspired by God. Well, folks, everything is inspired by God. All of creation is, duh. Right? That's why we're consciousness. We're God experiencing its own creation. So yes, everything is made in the image of God. But you got to understand that there's a play going on here. There's a story that we're all taking part in. And in that story, you had these other higher beings that came down and were manipulating Earth. Okay? I don't know. Maybe that's their job. Maybe they come here and they work on DNA. They work on creating new species, on who knows what the true point of these Elohim are, right? And of course, these stories were spun off later on, thousands of years later, by the Judeans and eventually by the Romans, which is basically your Christians, and on and on and on. And they added in their own versions, their own spins on the same story. And that's where you get the angels, the fallen angels, all this stuff, right? But folks, it's just to simplify stuff is like, look, we're all fractals of that immortal spirit, that Godhead, okay? We are all one with that grand consciousness. So our spirits are in the image of God. The human body was fashioned by, or at least hybridized, they took what was already there and upgraded it, like we could do genetically, like we do now, folks, genetic modification, okay? Come on, man. We already have our own scientists experimenting with this stuff. And essentially the book of Enoch kind of lays out the same story, okay? Not only did they upgrade us, create the human hybrid, but they were teaching humans how to build civilizations. See, they already knew, folks. They already had civilizations. Sometimes I almost wonder if the Elohim, the shining ones, these angels, these Anunnaki were actually like the survivors of Atlantis, or like a more advanced humanoid race that maybe perhaps ruled on Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. And they got wiped out in a grand, catastrophe, a comet strike or something. And their survivors, which carried on the technologies that their species had already attained, that they went around and tried to rebuild Earth. And there was always these humanoids, these hominids that were walking the earth, that they let them be because they were like animalistic. But now they needed them for labor to rebuild Earth, to repopulate. So they went and they upgraded them. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, think about it, folks. We still live in a day now where there's people living in the jungle that are have never gone to school. They're totally illiterate, at least to modern humanity, right? But they're super smart with plants and animals and plant medicine and everything else, because that's what they're immersed in that environment. And they haven't been there's still some tribes that don't get contact made with them, or hardly ever, that haven't been modernized in any kind of way. So we live in a time, folks, where there's literally still completely primitive humans living in nature with little or no technology, except for what rudimentary tools and and stuff that they've created from the environment. There's still tribes using bow and arrows to hunt. I mean, they don't got guns and stuff. They're still using flint knives and stuff to skin their prey with. I mean, come on, folks. Is it really that big of a stretch of the imagination to think that perhaps this already was, and that we are just now starting to kind of come full circle here? And now we're going to try to do the same thing they did with the humans, with the AI and robotics, right? Humans are getting really tired of this physical labor, this non-stop hamster wheel. And it doesn't matter how much you work anymore. You can work, overtime and still not hardly pay your bills anymore, folks, because of the inflation and stuff. So they want to replace us with these AI, right? They're cheaper. They control them. They're, they don't have to pay insurance and all this stuff for them. I mean, I don't know, folks. Just keep all this in mind. And I'm sorry for my rants, folks. I just get so irritated, man. It's like nobody can reason or think anymore. It's like either they're propagandized to the far left or the far right, and they're so stuck in their ways that they can't even consider another point of view. They can't look outside of the box. And I'm talking about the black cube, okay, folks? I've done videos on that. I hope you guys know what that is, because it is the Abrahamic face, and there's a reason for it. So I don't know, folks. I gotta go though. It's a Saturday. It's gonna be a rough day. So speaking of working constantly, right, not barely making it, and I've got a good paying job for the most part, and it's still not enough anymore, folks. I feel for you guys, man. I really do. And it just seems like things are getting worse. I hate to be that way, but damn. I don't know what happened to drill baby drill, and all of our energy costs going down. They continue to rise and rise. It's all BS. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this part 2. We're going to have to pick it up because we haven't even got into the Gnostic teachings of the Demiurge and the Archons, and we didn't even really get into the NDE stuff. I'm still trying to lay that groundwork, folks. Look, simple things, right? I need you guys to understand that we are not humans trying to reach a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a human experience, okay? I need you to understand that. You're not going to understand the rest of this unless you understand that. So anyways, guys, hey, we'll pick it back up. This may end up being 3, 4, 5-part series because it's a lot of information. I gotta paint the picture and lay the groundwork. So I'm not one of these guys that'll just shotgun you the information then walk off. I like to go into detail, and I'm trying to teach you other sacred teachings on top of that. Okay. So, there's a lot to this. I think just in the talk today, you probably already heard some things that, are taboo that go against what you've been taught. So anyways, guys, hey, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. How can you help exit the matrix if you have the means to do so? Help us grow, help me financially so that I have more free time to do more content, right? To reach more of the masses or the asses, you might say. and have a great way to have an awesome conversation. We can talk about whatever subjects you'd like, and that would be a one-on-one Zoom with me. I do those. I've done those for 2 years now, and it's one of the favorite things that I do in life. And basically, your donation for my time, and you get a copy of the Zoom, and we can talk about whatever you like. And so the information on that's always going to be down in the description under the video. And besides that, folks, just make sure you're sharing the videos, liking, subscribing. I never ask that stuff, but obviously I would appreciate that. And anyways, guys, hey, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you later.